For today's video, I thought I'd give you a little sneak peek of the shipwreck build we're going to start at the live on Saturday. I've already started creating the base here, and I'm going to show you how I got this seaside stone effect. So I started off with just a big chunk of foam, and I've been cutting it down, getting the rough stone shape out of there. You just sort of come in at different angles, and you can even go in with the knife and pop it out like that instead of cutting smoothly. So cut in deep and pop it out. It gets these nice shapes here. Please use your PPE. Okay, that looks pretty good. I could stop there. That makes very decent stone. You've seen this technique before, but as I said, I want this to look like it's been hit with water and wind. If you look at rock that comes from the sea or from large bodies of water, it's rounded and smooth and eroded in a particular way. So that's what we'll go in and do next. Next, I have this tool known in the profession as a screwdriver. Very high-tech stuff here. I'm literally just going to go in and stab and pry out chunks like so. Don't go too deep. You don't want to go all the way through your piece, but go in deep enough to make a pretty good little gouge into it. Get rid of all the little chunks that are in there. You get these little pieces that are kind of rounded. You don't want those. Just pry those out of there. Yeah, I accidentally went all the way through on that one, but I suppose that's going to be okay. Maybe my mistake will just be a happy little accident. This isn't exactly like math. I mean, I'm just sticking it in there and prying out bits here and there. Very sort of chaotically. Really, the more chaotic, the better. Be more natural looking. You don't want to be too methodical with it. I think that's going to look pretty good. This is messy business. Have your broom handy. Now to give this that smooth water eroded look, I'm going to use my heat gun and really go in here and change the shape of all of this. So you can already see, here's what I've just did with the screwdriver, and then here is what the heat gun is doing it, giving you that very rounded, smooth, water eroded sort of look. I think it's a really fine effect for creating stone that's been eroded by water and wind. The heat also hardens this quite a bit, so you don't necessarily need to do the Mod Podge mix. I'm just going to put on my first layer of paint. For my color here, I'm going with one of these jars that I got at Lowe's, $4 jar. The color on this is called Dutch Licorice. It's a very dark blue, almost black, as you can see. Another beautiful thing about these little pots is I don't have to use a palette. I can just go right into the jar here. I'm using a mop brush because I really want to get down into all of those spaces and crevices and get inside there and just sort of twirl it around and make sure I really cannot overdo the paint on this. Just lay it on pretty heavily, pretty thick. I want to get it all into all the little spaces that I've created here. Make sure you look at it from all angles. You'll be painting like this for a while, and you think you're done, you look and you turn it like this, and all the undersides are still unpainted. So as you're going through and painting, just kind of keep rotating the piece around and making sure you're seeing it from all angles. I speak from experience. Sometimes the brush wants to jump out of your hands too, be warned. These crazy brushes, they're always making a break for it. All right, it's getting weird. So precious. Really look at those textures in there. I love that. I'm doing a little stippling here so that when it dries, it isn't so smooth. Just stippling with the brush to give it a little bit of a rougher texture, especially over all those patches that are kind of already smooth like this. As this begins to dry, you can even go through and do another layer of just stippling to get more of that. This paint sits pretty thick. It is interior house paint, so it's meant to go on evenly and not require many coats. It's quality brand too. This Valspar stuff's pretty good. We'll just let that dry. Let's wait for the dry brush. You see here the real power of the dry brush, especially down these details down in here. Look very cool. And I think that's very believable as a piece of rock that you might see, a big piece of rock you might see down by the sea. Here's some scale for you. I got a little minifig here. You can get a little cave that you could shelter in there. I may do another, I think I'll likely do another dry brush of just some off-white, just downstrokes to give some lighting effects. Craft Smart Vanilla. Very, very dry brush, extremely dry, and just sort of graze, downstrokes, just grazing the top edges of things. And that's going to give that appearance of light coming down onto the tops of things. Just doing downstrokes in all directions. And this doesn't make a huge difference, but it makes enough of a difference. The eye detects it, and it helps to really create the illusion of real stone outdoors. And there you have it. I think that looks really good. I'm quite happy with the effect.